everyone. I'm your host, Mckinzie. Welcome to the Birth Seat, our heritage, our legacy podcast dedicated to addressing the pressing issues of Black maternal health, exploring the stories, the challenges, and the triumphs of Black mothers in Delaware and beyond. On this podcast, we dive into our heritage, the systemic barriers we face, and the legacy we aim to leave behind. And we do so through heartfelt conversation right here on the Birth Seat. And joining me for today's conversation, I do have Miss Amber. And Amber is a certified doula, childbirth educator, and program coordinator for Black Mothers Empower Domestic Violence Support Program. Amber's work is rooted in her personal experience with intimate partner violence, obstetrical trauma, and infant loss, which inspired her journey into birth work. And today, I have the pleasure of welcoming our special guests from DSU. I have Trinity and I have Jada, who will be introducing herself in a few minutes. And we also have the first cohort domestic violence in the building. Shout out, Zakia. And she's an expert in this topic today. And she's going to be just giving us some pointers, some information, and also she'll be a good resource in the future if you have any reason to reach out to the program for this topic in particular. And we also have other cohorts within Black Mothers Empower, all right? Now, before we begin, I would like to share a brief disclaimer. In recognition of Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month, our discussion will focus on key topics not limited to the impact, consequences, and prevention strategies of abuse. If this topic may be triggering for you, please prioritize your well-being at this time. All right? So before I go into details, ladies, I just want you to go ahead and introduce yourself, Trinity, and then we'll go to Jada, and then we'll go to the both of you.
I hope everyone is doing well today. My name is Trinity Clark. I'm a student at Delaware State University, and I'm a senior majoring in psychology and social work.
Hello, my name is Jada Parks. I also attend Delaware State University, majoring in psychology, have an associate's degree in liberal arts.
I'm Zakia. I am one of the first doula domestic violence cohorts. I just recently graduated from, and I'm also lived experience of domestic violence. So we're just happy to be here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure having you.
Glad you're all here.
All right. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for just wearing yellow to represent I'm sorry. Right. Orange is the color for Teen Domestic Violence Awareness Month in February. And actually, February 6th is the day that is dedicated to just creating that awareness. So that's why you can see a range of colors amongst us. If you look at her cup, orange. The never shirt, yeah, a bracelet, and yeah, and I specifically ordered these glasses for this. I was like, I need to be orange though.
Yeah, oh, so cute. They are cute.
All right. So thank you so much. It's a pleasure having you guys today. Thank you for honoring the invitation. My first question to you is, why did you decide to take the call and come here and talk about teen domestic violence? If you wanted to, whoever wants to take it on first.
Okay. I came here because you're not always granted opportunities like this. I've been on a podcast twice before. Once when I was in high school, and it wasn't anything that was like advocating for domestic violence. You know, a lot of people secretly go through it, or like it's normalized in like their environment, so it doesn't seem like it's anything to go over. But just to show people that are like me, if they are going through things and they look like me or in the same environment as me, without letting me know or letting people know or getting out of it, not know what to do. You know, there are ways to advocate for yourself, advocate for others. And like I said, I'm here to represent for my org, Gracefully Ignited Voices Everywhere. So yeah.
I'm glad you said that it's normalized, but also like secret sometimes. You don't really talk about the experiences, so I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that whole secret, keeping it a secret. Why do people keep it inside instead of voicing it out to get help? So this just go with you. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So the reason I decided to come out today and share on the podcast is because after going through my situation as well, I learned that I wanted to advocate for anyone else who had been through similar situations. And for me to be able to do that, I need to use my voice and share about my experiences, what worked for me, what didn't work for me, to be able to help people get through the same type of experience as well, if they don't have anyone to look to. Because like you said, sometimes it can be more secretive and they don't know who to turn to. So I would love to use my voice to be able to help other people.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right. And why did you decide to get into the program and actually be certified and go to that extent?
So after having a lengthened experience, I felt like I had nowhere to go. Like no one to call, no one that I knew around me that had experienced that. So no one knew where to guide me. So I'm like, if that's how it is for me, then that has to be like that for other women.
That's right.
Where do they go? Where do they turn? So for me, it's a movement.
That's right.
And more of us need to come together and do things like this and hand out resources and tell people, like, it's okay. You don't have to be ashamed. It happened. We're going to grow. We're going to move on from these things. We're going to talk about them, though. Yeah, if we're going to address them, we're going to talk about them. Yes, we're not going to suppress anything. We're going to get those feelings and those emotions out. And then we're going to live our life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, to the best.
Wonderful. Wonderful. All right. Let me just provide a little bit of statistics here. So research shows that 1 in 3 U.S. teens experience physical, sexual, or emotional abuse from a partner during their teenage years. Additionally, nearly 43% of U.S. college women report encountering violent or abusive behavior in dating relationships. Women aged 16 to 24 are 3 times more likely to be victims of domestic violence compared to women of other age groups. Each year, over 500 women and girls in the U.S. are tragically killed by abusive partners. Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month is observed in February to raise awareness about dating violence and educate the public on prevention strategies. The theme for 2025 is Respect That, which emphasizes the importance of treating partners with dignity and respect.
With that being said, what does respect look like in a relationship? Or what do you think love is supposed to look like in a relationship? Because I think that is the turning point where people get it twisted and act otherwise. So what does a normal relationship supposed to look like?
Who wants to take that? I'll go. To me, I feel like in order to have a good relationship, you have to have great communication. We have to have respect and you have to have boundaries. And I should be able to come to my partner and say, hey, the things that you did, I really didn't like that. Or it upset me. And my partner be willing to sit and listen. Vice versa. It's not just always about me. It's about both of us being able to be in each other's space and be able to communicate effectively and respect one another. And then outside of the respect and the communication, that there's love.
That's right. All right. Awesome. I love that. And you mentioned something very important. You said boundaries. And I think boundaries is, for me, I feel like is a foundation that needs to be taught from childhood, infancy. So, like, for example, when I say boundaries being taught at a very young age, I'm talking about teaching your child that it's not okay for you to sit on Uncle Ted's lap. It's okay for you to tell Uncle Ted, like, no, I'm not going to sit on your lap. You know what I'm saying? They should be able to speak for themselves, be vocal, like set boundaries, regardless of where they're at or what age they're at. When you know how to set boundaries at a very young age, you're more likely to know how to set boundaries when you have somebody crossing the line.
Yeah, I think going back to what you said, as far as what respect is, I feel like you should always, respect is the comprehension of the communication. Like you said, you need to be able to communicate. And also, if I can't trust you,
you can't trust anyone that doesn't respect you, because they'll do anything and they won't respect whatever boundaries you do have. So I would say respect is just keeping balance and being considerate to the other person in the relationship, just making sure, like, that you're being understanding, that the other person is feeling heard and loved. Like you said, love comes after all of that. So just making sure, like, you're being respectful to your partner, and what you give is what you get, and what they give is what they get, in a way, but not out of spite. And like you said, boundaries starting off at a young age. I do think, like, your childhood has a lot to do with who you are as a person, who you turn out to be, the decisions you make throughout your life, and your personality. So just making sure, like, you keep that. Once you notice in your adult years and you do go on to have children, you make sure that you teach them these are boundaries, how far to go with your boundaries, how to make sure people respect your boundaries, and how to respect others' boundaries. So yeah.
That was good.
Very good. Anybody want to chime in on that?
Yeah, so one recurring theme of domestic violence, which teen dating violence is a subset of that, but it's this idea of a pattern of abuse, and it's based in control. And I think sometimes we think that we have to control others, or we're allowed to control others, and then let others control us in ways that we may not associate with abuse. Like, a lot of teen dating violence topics and themes that come up are things that may seem innocent, like, constantly checking your phone, or like, walking you to class, or checking in on you. But those can turn into toxic behaviors. And I think because we don't have the conversation often, especially young enough, that it's confusing, and people think, oh, that's love, they love me, they really care. But really, it's like, no, these are like early signs of control.
Sure.
And we need to kind of navigate those far before dating is part of the conversation.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, so warning signs. So very important that we don't ignore warning signs. And if you're listening to this podcast, please repeat after me. I will not ignore the warning signs, right? So if there's a red flag, and it makes you question yourself or doubt yourself, like, sometimes certain love can just be too good to be true. I'm sorry. Like, if he's calling you 10 times in a day, like, for example, my ex-boyfriend, like, oh my gosh. When I realized that, when I felt a level of abuse in that relationship, was when there was a day he traveled, and he called me. And when he called me about 10 times. And when I finally answered the phone, the first thing he said was, "What the hell are you? Where have you been? I've been calling your phone. I've been blowing your phone up, and you ain't answered my call."
Right.
And then I looked at my phone, and I looked at the period he called. It was within 2-3 minutes. 2-3 minutes in 10 minutes, in less than 5 minutes. Sir, are you okay there? Yeah. So those are signs. Those are warning signs. There's no reason anybody should call you 10 times within 1 minute. Although the first week or less, like, you're probably in the ER or something, or nothing. And see how you try to find out.
Like, what? And that's spasm when you do answer in the phone. Like, once you do answer the phone, and they're like, it will be scary as well. Like, if they did answer, like, you answer and they were really calm after blowing your phone up, but, like, just for you to yell and be really aggressive and just answer on the phone.
Right. Or sitting on the phone, not talking, just like that constant, like, just being there. It's not, it's like misconstrued as like cute, and it's like, no, those are toxic behaviors. And a key thing about that is, a lot of times in adult domestic violence relationships, we see it primarily coming from male figures. But with teens, it's both. Yeah.
And it's equally, you see it's more like 50% versus like the, 70% as you get older. So it's like, these are like key ages where toxic behaviors are happening on both sides.
Yes.
And there's a miscommunication around what is healthy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're going to get back to that later on, but I just wanted to touch on the fact that you said in teen, it's like almost 50-50 when it comes to the domestic violence. Because I reviewed a study recently that was done by Erica's Lighthouse, and just the numbers were astonishing. Like I said, we'll come back to it. But I visited a high school and I spoke to one of the counselors there, and just tried to get information about the type of counselors they have at their high school. The first thing that was that I noticed that I shook my head on was they were all females. 5 females, I think 5 at least, and no male. So that's a problem.
Yeah.
We need more male in this field.
Representation.
You're not gonna have a male going to a female to talk about his relationship that he's the one not acting right.
That's like great point, because like even here,
Yeah.
they're all women, but I think we need more men to be willing to have these conversations.
Yeah, Bob.
Yeah, and advocate as well, because that's an excellent point.
Correct. Yeah, like the locker room conversations, like we need more male, like, the conversation that takes place, like places like that. Like, you don't, sometimes they're there to like just cheer each other on. What do you cheer each other on? Is it positive? Is it negative? So that's something to definitely look at. But my next question is, given all of this, I know you said you have a lived experience. That means you're a survivor now. So congratulations. Thank God for you. Are you able to share the pivotal moment during your lived experience that you had that light bulb or deer in the headlight moment where you said, this is abuse, like I have to get out? Like, where did you get to that point, if you don't mind sharing?
So I've had 2 lived-in experiences, unfortunately. The first one, that was abuse completely, but I didn't have anywhere else to go. So it was like, I'm just going to deal with it until I can figure it out. Like, I have no outlet. I can't escape. All of my money is his money, so everything that I make, he takes. So until I could figure out like an escape plan, I just had to deal with that. My last, because there will never be another one, as far as lived experience, that was more of I felt like I could fix him. And I felt like if I left, he was going to still crumble. And I didn't want him to crumble when I left. I wanted him to be able to stand on his own 2 feet. And so I just continued to put myself in the back, even though I knew what he was doing was abusive. I was just like, I know though, but the good moments, I know that they can come out. I know I can bring those things out of him, like the substance abuse problem. I know I can fix that. I know he's just sick. And I know that I think I took over being a mom.
Correct.
And it took me so long to leave that specific situation because I felt like I was abandoning one of my kids.
Oh, wow.
So after a while, I was just like, it's either me or you. Like, it's getting too far. Things are going too far, and none of us are safe. I'm not comfortable. The kids don't like it anymore. So I'm going to leave. That's right. Because I'm getting too angry, and I'm going to snap, and I'm going to kill you. So I need to leave.
That's right.
So I left.
Yeah, that whole I'm going to kill you. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. So for I'm going to kill you half a moment.
Because that's the moments that get up in the carry. So that's why I lost.
So let me tell you, my experience was, what happened? So what happened was, he hit me twice, right? The first time he hit me, I was like, okay. When they hit you, they have this remorseful moment. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to, and I'm so sorry. It'll never happen again. Blah, 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 in the parrot. But the second time when he did it, right, I was like, oh no. And the first thing that normally like to do is try to gaslight you, right? Make you feel like you're crazy. And then start the insults.
And I'll go into some of the things he said. I remember him making a comment to me. He said, "Who the F do you think you are, Liz?" I said, "Who the F do you think you are?" Up to him. And I said, "Sir, who the F do you think I am?" And then he turns around. "I've been with women who are far, far better than you. And if you leave, I would be with somebody way better than you." Yeah. And I looked at him and I said, "Sir, well, the last time I checked, your dad was the Minister of Education in your country, because he's not from America, he's not American. Not only that, you're a very intelligent man. And if your dad taught you very well, he would tell you to leave a woman who is better than me and stoop so low and come date me. That's number one." Right. Mm-hmm. And I said, "The next time you touch me," and I took one of the mirrors in the living room, I slammed it on the floor. I said, "The next time you touch me, somebody is going 6 foot under. It ain't gonna be me." So the next thing I did the next day, I went to look for another apartment and I was out. Ladies, you gotta be stronger. Yeah. You gotta fight for yourself.
Especially when the
Men too, you gotta be strong and fight for yourself.
Yeah, especially when they try to like bring you down with the comparing you to women that they've had before, or the fake options that they have now, or options that they can have later in the future. What's after you or before you don't really matter if that's what you got going right now. And then on top of that, someone can look far better than you, but they're never going to be you. So just be yourself, and what's supposed to come to you will come to you.
That's right. Yeah. So we have this training program that prepares people to support and kind of understand DV more. And one thing we talk about is how it's mental first. It never starts with the physical, and how the mental is so intense that it makes you kind of lose reality and have like this skewed version. So when we're saying these kinds of like examples and things, sometimes from the outside looking in, it's like, "Oh girl, like why would you listen to that?" But it's like when you're in it, yes, and it's gradual and built up and layered, it gets very confusing and just overwhelming and complex. And so people end up like in a mental jail, and they feel trapped and confused, and sometimes internalize a lot of these things as if they're truth. Yes. And so when we're talking about this, I think it's important that the audience recognizes that being in it versus being outside of it are two completely different senses of reality. And it takes a lot for someone to have the mental strength to peel back the lies, to refine their truth, refine themselves, and then create a plan where they can escape safely. Right. Yeah. And escape could mean breaking up, it could be moving out, it could be whatever the situation is. But there's a level of fear, concern, and just messed up sense of self, you know?
Yeah, and we know from our research that most homicide take place after the partner leaves the domestic violence situation. Yeah, so it's so it's very dangerous. So just saying that, because when you see somebody going through domestic violence, it's very important that you are mindful with the way you approach them. You never really want to just walk up to them and just tell them, "Hey, why can't you just leave? You just leave. You just get out." It's so many factors that
She wanted to leave, she would leave.
Yeah, it's so many factors that go into it. Financial go into your finances could be a problem. Children, where accommodation, where you stay, all of that. It's lack of support, even family members sometimes. And I know religion sometimes. Girl, let's not go there. You know, it's that's a conversation for another day. And I was actually gonna say that I was actually gonna throw out an invitation out there. Like in the future, I would like for a religious leader or like a pastor or just someone of faith. I want to have a conversation about why is it that, you know, like our religion is not a safe I'm not saying it's not a safe haven. It is a safe haven. But when I looked at the Erica's Lighthouse study, actually I have this paper here. They did a survey just asking students in different high schools. And when I looked at the results for all the high schools that they did this study on in Delaware, religious leader were the list people that people with domestic violence will go to for help or support.
Yeah.
So the question was, which of the following are examples of who could be a trusted adult? All right. Number one on the list were parents and guardian. And then second on the list were mental and health professionals. And then third on the list were teachers, coaches, and last on the list was religion, religious leaders.
I feel like that definitely would probably depend on the audience, the group that was surveyed. Just because this generation now, a lot of what I see don't really prioritize their religion as much, or they're not as connected or in depth with their religion, and the other things in their life take over, just the Sunday. So, like I said, they probably don't even really have a connection or know the religious leader. But as far as a parent or a teacher or a counselor at your school, you see them every day throughout the week.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to necessarily put it in a negative space just because I'm Christian. I go to church on Sundays and stuff like that. And your religious leader could be a pastor for somebody, but my religious leader would be God, so I can go pray.
Correct.
And not everyone thinks that way. Not everyone has that type of connection with God.
Yeah. And there's a lot of other religions. Some, that's not going to prioritize, that, like the power control. Yeah. So in some spaces, religious abuse is a type of DV. So it just depends on, the group, the belief system, the group, and even like what kind of situation. Just like with parents, sometimes parents can be like very much a protective space, and sometimes parents can be very much like stand by the man. Like, so it just depends,
And a lot of it is misconstrued for the favor of, somebody that is, doing those type of things.
Absolutely. Yeah. Then I really like the fact that though the first actions were the parents. But that also tells me that as parents, we have a role to play, because this is someone that your children really, really trust you. They put you as number one trust. So the type of value you instill is instill in them, the boundaries you teach them how to set and respect really, really matters.
And with the parents, tell me if you all, because has everyone here experienced some level of DV?
Like growing up, yeah.
Okay. So have you, with your parents, for example, felt like you could communicate openly about dating or about unhealthy dating? Because me personally, I didn't.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm like, I'm dealing with this on my own because they don't even want me out here.
Yeah, I'm definitely one of those type of people. Like I just never even, like, I was a tomboy and everything. Like I didn't even want a boyfriend or anything at some point. But when I did, I definitely kept it a secret because I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to tell my mom everything.
Yeah.
And just let her know. Like it felt, I don't know, like, just being a little kid, like, it just was, like, embarrassing. Like, oh, my God, I got a boyfriend, babe. So I have to tell my mom I got a boyfriend and stuff. She gonna be like, I can't do this and do that. And I hope she won't be blaming everything on me. And, oh, I'm going to clean my room today because I got a boyfriend.
Right.
Ain't nobody coming over here.
You that parents will have with their kids.
Yeah, and then, you know how Black communities are most times. Like when you do get a boyfriend, that's when people start to assume that you're doing other things. Yes. I was an innocent child, thankfully, And I, was one of the kids that wasn't, moving fast, but it was labeled on anything and everything once you did get a boyfriend.
Yep.
So stuff like that. But I definitely did not want to tell my mom.
Right.
But when I did, I slipped up and told her. And she was pretty chill about it. It wasn't too crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, just accepting the fact that your daughter is growing, and she's just approaching the next stage of life, and just welcoming it and talking to her or him, educating him on things, life experiences you've had is also important. There's never really a time that is too soon to disclose certain information.
Yes.
If you've been through life experiences that you learn lessons from, you could just disclose that. Does anybody have any like personal experiences they want to share with like DB, either through?
Well, like I said, I could share with like the parent part. Oh, when that comes to dating. Me and my mom have a very, very close bond. She was one of the first people, honestly, that I was able to tell when I even got my first boyfriend. It's so hard. I feel like from the bond that we have, like I want to say something, and she's very open. She's very like. She's not like protective in a way where like she wants to be controlling, but she wants to be able to play a role in my life where she understands that her responses can dictate whether I want to keep sharing or not. So when I explained to her like, oh yes, this is someone I'm talking to, she wasn't like saying something like, why do you feel like you need a boyfriend at this age? Or, oh, you should be focusing on school. She was like, okay, what made you want to do this? Tell me about him. Tell me like how are things going for you guys? She was like invested and wanted to learn more about me and understand why I chose to do that. So with the way that went, I'm very open with her with honestly all of my relationships, anything. I'm glad to have that bond because she's lived through that type of experience as well. So she was able to give me guidance as well too in her experiences as well. So I was very grateful for that. Yeah.
Yes, that's awesome. Okay, good. Now, with domestic violence, what support do you think, or do you feel like you would have gotten that would have helped you, or what resources do you think would have helped you in your situation? Like you were saying, you had no avenue to run to in your first and your second circumstances. Family member an option, organizations. Did you have, like therapy? What do you think would have helped you?
I don't really feel like at my age group, our parents, this was a conversation that they had. This was not like a big thing that they talked about in the community. So the best thing that I would say is for parents, no matter what you feel like your child may go through, is to educate yourself on domestic violence, the different types of domestic violence, and then look for the resources, because if your kid goes through that and you've never experienced it, you can't help them. You can't even say, oh, let me figure out, if you haven't tried to figure that out prior to your kid coming to you saying like, this is what I'm going through, I'm getting my head hit into walls. Your mind is not going to be like, okay, let me find resources. Your mind is going to be like, I'm going to kill him and his whole entire family. Instead of being able to, okay, I've already prepared for this just in case. It's the resources out there that people don't know. They're like hidden. You have to find your way.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to also mention that, because Black Mothers in Power have like different resources to support people who are going through domestic violence. If you need somebody to talk to, or you need a doula that specializes in that area, they're here to assist you in the process. We should be giving our number later before the end of the show, and just for anyone to just contact and get some support if they need to, because I feel like that communication gap that we started with is definitely missing, and it's something that we need to break the gap and just make that puzzle fit. Most people have a means of communication, or where to call or who to call, and stay anonymous. A lot of people sometimes don't want their business out there. They just want to keep it strictly with somebody. So definitely a good way to segue on that.
Yeah, and I think we should focus on prevention. Like, I love that you guys are in college right now. You're in the spaces of, and we even talk about with like teens in high school, middle school, like these are spaces where you typically learn from your peers, more so than any other adult that's you're around. Right. You're in school over 8 hours a day, after school activities, extracurriculars. Like, you're talking to your friends more intimately about everything going on than your parent. Absolutely. And so if we focus on like giving the tools early so that they can educate each other, I think that's going to go a longer way than trying to heal and provide resources for after the fact. Yes. You know?
Yeah, I'd like to share on that, actually, that you said that, because I know for me, when I was going through my situation as well, it was when I was at Delaware State University. I was a freshman at the time. It was during COVID, so it was 2020. There were no in-person classes. There was no events. There was nothing going on. So we were really just there to be in our rooms, join the class virtually, and that was really it. Like, there was nothing really to, like, get out.
Right.
So during that time, like, my ex-boyfriend I had at the time, like, he basically just stayed in my room at the time. Like, it was just basically like a roommate situation, like, from there. And for me, I'm 6 hours away from home. I live in upstate New York. And the reason I explain that I do feel comfortable talking to my mom about things, but I feel like because of the fact that I was 6 hours away, I did not want to tell her that I was going through that. I honestly wasn't open to talking to anyone about it, because I knew that if I told somebody about it, they would try to do things to encourage me to leave, and I just knew that I wasn't at that point where I felt comfortable doing that. So I kept it to myself for months. Like, probably a good 4 months passed where I even explained it to anyone. And the person that it was actually his mom, because we had a very close bond. When I explained to her what was going on, she explained to me that his father, which was her ex-husband at the time, used to put his hands on her as well. He was like, she was saying, you know, although like her and the husband aren't together anymore, but maybe because the way like they grew up and he was growing up seeing those things, that's kind of maybe why that happened. She did have a conversation with him and tried to like say like, you know, don't try to be like your dad. Like, yes, I'm sorry that you were raised that way, but like maybe try to grow and be different. Don't try to be like him. But it really didn't help the situation. And after some time, like I did try to go to campus security on campus. Months later, well, at first, before I even got that support, I told a professor. She was my psychology professor. I don't know what made me tell her. I guess I just felt more comfortable saying it in that space, considering she had the knowledge behind it, right? But I told her that I didn't know what to do about it. I would just text her, tell her what's going on and everything like that. And after a certain point, she called campus security for me because she knew I wasn't gonna do it. But when I talked to them, I'm sorry, there were no help at all. It was absolutely terrible. It was very, I can't think of the word, but there were no help at all. If anything, I could say that they actually made the situation worse because of the fact that like, they weren't really like on my side. I didn't know that early on. I should have known from the first question they asked me, oh, well, when was the last time you were sexually, like, when's the last time you guys have done anything sexual? Are you leading him on? Are you doing anything to provoke him? Those were like the first questions that they asked us.
That the thing that discourages most victims, the survivors, from even getting help is because if you go get help the first time and they say these type of things or they act this way or it makes the situation worse, what more can you go do?
Exactly.
Yeah, and I felt like when you look at the definition of domestic violence in general, it's a whole spectrum, right? You have physical, sexual, and things like that. But I feel like people or even authorities focus on physical. Like if it's not physical, if he didn't hit you, like even if they show up, they would leave. Would just asking you just these questions that in your head you're like, oh my God, like why are you acting like to make me feel even more uncomfortable?
Right.
So I just feel like maybe our system we need more training.
Absolutely.
People need more training because I like law enforcement who respond to this situation.
That's the thing with society. Like at one point, they didn't even have any like domestic laws or any rape laws or anything. It was called like a seduction, like you can't seduce anyone. When it was never really that, it was always like a lack of respect to a woman's boundaries who you don't even know. Or and if you do know them, it makes it even worse because it's just like, come on now.
Right, that's right. Right, they don't put the woman at fault.
Right, always, the victim blaming, especially when it's not one of those situations where you blame a victim.
Right. Yeah. So, and I really like the fact that you guys are in college or still very at that age. and you guys have a movement. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So that with that situation that occurred, I didn't really feel comfortable talking with faculty at the time. Any of them, the campus security, Title IX, any of them, because they were really no help. They just made it worse. They just kept saying, giving much of like false promises, well, empty promises. So that's when I took the time to look to student organization. That's the organization that we're both in now, Gracefully Igniting Voices Everywhere. It's to advocate for students who have gone through any domestic violence or sexual assault, and then also to promote which is exactly why, you know, I was one of the reasons, like you said, why I wanted to come and speak on this as well. So when I spoke to them, I was there with a lot of emotion. I'm like, I really want to, help with this cause because of what I went through. But from what I learned from there on was that I needed to heal first before I could even help anyone. Because I would go to these events and these meetings talking about this, and I would just be angry. The whole time I couldn't help anybody when I'm just thinking about what happened to me and like everything that I was very all the time. Yes, I had to learn to heal myself and then also learn to advocate by educating myself on it, because just because I went through something like that does not mean I'm educated on it as well. I needed to take the time to look and learn, and I'm honestly so grateful for the organization as well and the way it played a part in my life, and which is why I'm still a part of it now.
Yes, I'm very happy that I've met the people on board, especially Trinity here. And she's just a really nice person, and it just sucks that anyone has to go through anything just to be a beautiful person overall. And you went through some stuff that wasn't meant to happen to you. As well as, the organization, we're advocating for sexual assault awareness and mental health, domestic violence, all those things, and giving our peers a comfort space, because like she said, she wasn't comfortable going to anyone else. But you can lead and inspire your peers by seeing it done by someone that looks like you, someone that's just like you. So, yeah, I feel like this organization and being on campus and us being at our age can really, allow people to know like it can be at any age. And like you said, people that grew up with those type of things, you can see like this not the right way to go about it. Even though that was your environment, this no longer is your environment, and that isn't how you have to be.
Right, and not to bring it
You will not bring your ghetto here. Yeah.
All right, and I have a quote from Maya Angelou. She said, "I did then what I knew how to do. Now that I know better, I do better."
Yeah.
All right, so keep that in mind. And also, again, my message to you, do not ignore the warning signs. If you need help, Black Mothers Empowers, we're here to support you. Our first cohort, Zakaya. And we're going to leave some information on how you can contact Black Mothers Empowers and the different doulas services we offer, and just help you guys get the support that you need. And one last question that I have for you, if we have a few minutes. If you had the power to create a change in your community or society, other than what you're currently doing, what would that be?
Well, one of them for me is something that I'm currently doing, but it's taking progress right now. So I'll speak on that. So in 2023 at Delaware State University, after we had a protest, after they found out there was an officer who also mishandled another sexual assault case, we had a protest on campus. I was able to attend that protest, and we were able to have a meeting with the dean right after with our concerns. And that's when Delaware State University came up with the Safe Space Coalition. And that coalition is basically to make sure to have faculty members such as the dean, the president of the organization, campus security, Title IX, counseling, all come together to make sure that these cases are getting solved properly, and that they're coming up with new different ways, like different initiatives to make sure that this doesn't keep happening in the future. And I'm so glad to be a part of that coalition. I'm one of the student representatives for that. So now for me, like that's kind of what I'm doing now. I'm taking the time to not just get angry, get mad, and just also be able to advocate, but also be a part of that system where they're coming up with different initiatives. And that's kind of like the work I do now, with coming up with different initiatives on campus.
It's very proud of you. Think anybody else want to share?
It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Listen, we could talk about this for hours. It's a lot. Carry all day. It felt like it's only been 20 minutes.
Such. All right, yeah. For time's sakes, we won't hold on that question because it can go into that.
Correct. All right. Well, it's a pleasure having you guys.
It was my smile here.
Thank you so much. And I have something for you guys. Keep this birthday gifts for her. Yes. Oh. Thank you for coming, given that it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Yeah, our case. We had to make sure that we're orange, right? Colors. Thank you. There for you, my guest. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You're very welcome. And thank you so much. I want to give you my business. Oh, yeah, okay.
I do wear and sew clothes and customize clothes. I'm not. But let's see what's in the box. Can we open them?
Yes, of course. Yeah. Your mother walkies. And that's just a token of love from Black Mothers in Power and Lisa Mckinzie.
I don't want to mess up your day. From the city. Oh, yes, I love socks. No, I love when people give me socks. Like, thank you.
So, yeah, this is really sweet. Thank you.
Thank you guys for being here and for sharing.
Thank you for coming. Thank you. And sharing. I know it's difficult to just come here and open up and talk. We just pray, hope that your message will resonate and help that one person out there who really this message and needs the support. So
Don't be scared. Get the help.
Yes, please. That's something that I say to you. To not be embarrassed.
It is okay. Go.
Your family loves you. Your community loves you. Everybody loves you. You're somebody's mom. You're somebody's daughter. You're somebody important to the society, to the community. Your neighbors want you to be well and alive. So please, there are two options when you're in a domestic violence situation. You can either get out of it alive or dead. So in order to get out of it alive, you have to, be bold, be strong. And also, one thing I want to mention, I feel like we need to educate ourselves more too. Yeah. We need to also maybe stand back from just waiting for someone to hand us the information. Go online. It's 2025. The resources are there. You go on YouTube. If you are looking for information on, what number should I call for help, for this type of help, you can go on YouTube. You'll find somebody who has made a video on it, educate yourself, empower yourself. When you know better, you do better, right? Yeah. But if you don't know, there are so many people, sometimes you talk to them, and they'll be like, for example, I listened to this survivor story. She was being waterboarded by her ex-boyfriend. And waterboarding is a form of torture that was used in the military. It's actually illegal not to even use it. But that was the way he was torturing her. For her, she was in that relationship, not even knowing that she was experiencing domestic violence. She found out she was in a domestic violence situation when she was pregnant and was ready to have a baby in the hospital. He was so used to just torturing her and beating her, insulting her, that he didn't even know the environment he was in at that point in time. Later on, the nurse overheard him. And when he left, that's when the nurse came in and was like, "Lady, you are involved in a domestic violence situation." That's when the light bulb went off. This is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes everybody's layers change. Yeah. Yes. So, so just seek out resources on your own too, and just do what you gotta do to take care of yourself, your well-being, and get the support you need. We love you guys.
Can I add something in as well, too, quick? I also feel like it's important to understand, you have to believe that you are worthy of a healthy love as well, too. You have to know that being in that situation, this isn't what God wanted for me. This isn't what is meant for me. That I deserve a love that's patient and kind, that's not traumatizing, that's not hurtful, that's not abusive, Right. I feel like once you at least have that, you have the first step. Beginning help.
Yeah. Love yourself. Very good. There's a saying by, I'll keep talking all day if you guys like me. There's a saying by some gospel lady. I can't remember her name right now, but she said, she made a comment that when you know who you are and whose you are more likely to have respect for yourself and wish well for yourself. And who are you? You are a child of God. That's bigger than anybody and anything. So always think of that. When you're afraid of either talking to your parents, the authority, whoever, remember that you're a child of God. And when you know that and you're convinced within you, trust me, you do what's best for you.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you.